So you always hear the socialists and the communists say, we need fresh blood, we need young blood in the presidency. You know why that's a bad idea? Well, I think JFK is a perfect example of this, okay? I think a lot of the mistakes he made, which were numerous, his mistakes led to the Cuban Missile Crisis because he failed with providing air support for the Bay of Pigs. That would have taken care of all this. Yet, then he wanted to do Operation Mongoose, but there was no chance of that succeeding because the Bay of Pigs already failed. So all it did was push the Soviets then wanting to align with Cuba, okay? Which led to the Cuban Missile Crisis. So this is why, in my opinion, when the communists and the socialists, you know, the higher educated and the university professors carry on about, we need young blood and we need people that are all about peace. Look, you need people that are wise too, okay? And sometimes when you're too young, you don't have wisdom yet. It's just the truth. JFK was expected to provide support. The operation with the exiled Cubans was being planned under Eisenhower. Okay, that was to take care of Castro using the Cuban exiles that they trained. Okay, and yet even Eisenhower was disillusioned by Kennedy. Like, how could you let it fail like this? Like, how could you not provide air support? So it just seems like either he was too young to realize, not knowing what he was doing, or he was doing it on purpose. I don't know. But the Cuban Missile Crisis would not have occurred had he given air support to the Bay of Pigs, which then it would have been successful. Do people follow what I'm saying? The other thing is that there seemed to be this ego thing going on between the FBI and the CIA. So some of the things that the FBI has claimed about Martin Luther King, the CIA disagrees with, but there also seemed to be this, and believe me, I'm not trying. Both the CIA and FBI have been a problem. Okay, I mean, what this showed is that they do wiretap. Okay, but what the biggest thing that's important, especially for this day and time, to realize is that that communist and socialist organizations were infiltrating to influence American society during the mid-20th century. So during the Cold War, the CIA was trying to prevent all of that using covert missions. You can say, oh, they shouldn't have been eavesdropping on Cuba, but Castro had a whole army he was bringing in people from all over the place. So it was good that they were listening and using whatever, different, spy tactics they had. That said, the other problem is, Vietnam, okay? So Kennedy was not happy with the way that the president in South Vietnam was not getting aligned with democracy. It's like you can't force countries to go be democratic, like this part of the stupidness of every administration, well, most of them anyways. Like, stop getting involved in everybody else's affairs. And I understand it to a certain degree because they look at it like then it's a threat to us. But it doesn't have to be. But, I mean, he took what was 700, advisors that were in South Vietnam to 16,000. So, and then he was not happy with the president, so things escalated. That eventually led later, after his death, in the next administrations to us being in the Vietnam War. So do you see what I'm saying? It's not always a good idea to have this fresh young blood that everybody, usually socialists and communists, carry on about. But all of this stuff was involved in, Castro indoctrinating youth, socialist organizations from other countries. It's everything that it seems to have led to where we have arrived. It is what eventually, in my opinion, although it doesn't say this, is what ended up allowing 9/11 to take place. Because what socialists and communists do is they use your freedoms, they use your constitution against you. And say, just like, they love to claim that, if I'm saying stuff about radical Islam, and it is radical, then I'm being racist. No, I'm being honest. Their pattern, that's what that's their playbook. So all of that stuff that these guerrillas would learn and then go back to their countries and then train other youngsters in this is what Castro was doing. So do you see how it became this snowball? And in many ways, maybe the files not being released was in some ways to protect the Kennedy because of all the screw-ups. Because he instead of, being able to acknowledge, which he did at one point acknowledge that, yes, his failure to give air support did lead to the Cuban Missile Crisis. But him then going after the CIA because of his failure, it shows sort of that not maturity, not the wisdom type maturity, I mean, where a lot of these things would not have taken place had you had somebody that was wiser. People can believe what they want about, I don't think we'll ever truly know all of it, just because I think there were a lot of people that were possibly involved, and it's not right that he was killed, but it seems to me like everything was leading in that direction, because from the time his old man, Joe Kennedy, used the mob to help him get in. Is that specifically said in there? No, but it's known. I mean, the mob and the CIA and them working together, and it's known. So it's not hard to put those pieces together. This was a KGB defector, and Yuri Ivanovich Nasenko. So he was a KGB defector, and the CIA really for many years actually just kept him and did not believe him. But he had said that he monitored Oswald, and that they saw Oswald as mentally unstable. So the CIA initially didn't believe his story, that he was a genuine defector. They thought that he was possibly just trying to lead them down the wrong track. But then they did eventually let him go. It was like, I think after 3 or 6 years, after interrogating him and all that. And then he worked as a consultant with the CIA after that. So he ended up being legit. The thing to me is that the whole Soviet thing does not seem like it would have become a problem until JFK, because once the Bay of Pigs failed, then the jig was up. Then everything the CIA was trying to stop from happening, it was over. That they were, it was all exposed. So then that caused the Soviets to fear. So then they put started wanting to put nukes in Cuba, and then so just a lot of screw ups, and that's why it's not really, in my opinion, good to have a really young leader leading the freest country in the world because of disasters like this.